Brother, can you? I got you now. I hear myself ringing in my head. All right. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. I'm going to go take verse 1 and verse 2. Probably won't get no further than that tonight. But what Paul is telling here, we've already, you've heard me say it over and over and over again about Paul, why he wrote these to the pastors, to two pastors, Timothy and Titus. Right at the end of the chapter 3, after they give the qualifications of pastor and deacons, and why he did that the things would be know how to behave themselves in the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and the ground of the truth. And then he's coming down. He's beginning with chapter 4, and on down he's going to be describing the walk of a good minister of Jesus Christ. The walk. You know, we've heard it said it's a lot easier to talk than to walk. Talk is cheap. I've said that many times, told that to employees, told that to men that were looking for employment, and they go to tell me what all they could do, and I don't even know them from Adam's house cat or nothing else. I just don't know them. They go to tell me what all they can do. And I talked with a guy today at we're at the Harbor Freight, and by the way, I had to have my truck towed again today. Went in the Harbor Freight, came out, turned the ignition over to start, and it backfired, and it wouldn't crank. It was pow, pow, popping like out of timing. So I called Niece. He sent roll back up there and loaded up, took it down to the shop, and what it was, the distributor cap had cracked, and there's dampness and everything. Cranked up good, the house run good, and so I don't know what it is with these cars, the car and the truck, but anyway, but I'm going to read verse 1 and 2. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. It's in Acts 20, verse 29 and 30, the Apostle Paul is speaking to the elders from the church at Ephesus. You know how Ephesus was? They had the great goddess, silver shrine for the goddess Diana. And so Paul, he's speaking to the elders. He called them. He was over in Melita, and he sent for the elders there at Ephesus to come to him. And they came, and he states, for I know this, he's telling them, for I know this, telling the preachers that he come from Ephesus over there, for I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Also of your own selves, all shall men arise speaking perverse things to draw away disciples after them. And that word perverse there, it's untrue, but it sounds good. That's what Paul is saying, that of your own selves. He's saying out of your own group. He had all of the pastors there from Ephesus over there. I don't know how many it was, didn't say. It said the elders, which were the pastors. They were there, and it says out of your own group. What he's saying there is, if it was 6 pastors, I don't know, it could have been more, it could have been less, but out of your own group of pastors, it said that you ain't going to all stand true. It says that for I know this, that after my departing shall grievous wolves enter in among you, not sparing the flock. Also of your own selves, that's what he's saying, of your own selves shall men arise speaking perverse things to draw away disciples after them. They're going to be speaking lies. They're going to speak in things that's untrue, which is a lie, but it sounds good. And you know, the Bible tells, I believe it's over in 1st or 2nd Peter, that they're going to be heaping to themselves teachers with itching ears. These preachers is going to heap to themselves people out there telling how good you are, what a good speaker you are, and all this kind of stuff. And then that preacher going to stand in the pulpit and tell them how good they are, and going to lead them astray, right down the road into apostasy. It says that the Apostle John makes a similar remark. 1 John chapter 2, verse 18 and 19, it says, little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would no doubt have continued with us. But they went out that they might be made manifest that they were not of us. You see, John himself is talking about in his ministry, his closing years. He was talking about that the Antichrist is already on the scene, and the apostasy is already slipping in. And it says that, little children, it is the last time, the last days. We know what Paul said over in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. In the last days, perilous times are going to come. In the last days started when Jesus said it is finished. The law, he had fulfilled the law, and it starts right then. The last days, it was from then until the last days. We're in the last days, but I'm thankful that we're not going to see the last of the last days. It says, I forget which one it is. It says that there'll be rumors of wars, rumors of wars. There'll be famines. There'll be earthquake, pestilence. And he said, but the end the end is not yet. There's going to be more, and it's going to be more. But I think between that right there and to where it says more and more, I think in between, this is my thinking now, that the rapture is going to take place. We're going to see bad times. We're already seeing bad times. We have to admit that. I would have never guessed that things would have been as bad as they are 50 years ago when I got saved, got in a good church. Well, a little more than 50 years ago. But if people would have told me then the way things are and the way people has turned their back on going to church, we go to church if there ain't nothing else to do. And over in Romans chapter 1, Paul writes and says, for them not to worship the creation more than the Creator. And people, they go and they do, and they can go to these ball games, they can go to do this, they can do this and take vacations and all like that, and drive at night. There's places doing things that, but yet when it comes time to go to church, it's a little bit of rain or a little bit of fog, and I had people ask me, I believe it was when we were supposed to have that storm, was it last week? So what we're going to do about having church tonight? Tonight, that's going to be Sunday night. And I said, we're going to have church. He said, boy, it's supposed to get really bad. I said, if any time that anybody feels like it's too bad for them to come, stay home. Stay home. But see, everything went lovely that night. Everything was smooth as it could be. Not just like the big closing down the school the day before, it's supposed to be a snow, and the next morning you get up, you look out, the sun's shining. I know Brother Don ain't never seen nothing like that up in Yankee Land, up there in Illinois. They always got it dead on the money, but down here, man, they miss it a lot, Brother Don. They miss it a whole lot down here. And they talk about on WIS the 10-day forecast. You need to know what's happening 10 days out. The only station that does that, they can't even get it in 5 days, much less 10 days, and I'd love to tell them that. But anyway, Paul, he's told them, and you know, what John has said here in 1 John, it is the last time. You know, that began according to church history, approximately 55 years after the first beginning of the New Testament church. The New Testament church started over in Acts 2, where it was filled with the Spirit. When the Spirit came, the beginning of the New Testament church. And if you take from that time, from Jesus Christ's birth on up to his crucifixion and then to his resurrection, and it's approximately 55 years after the first beginning of the new church, the New Testament church. We can safely say it's in the first century. And it's in the last half of the first century that already apostasy is already slipping in. That soon. And the Bible tells us that times are going to get worse and worse. And boy, that's been almost 2,000 years. It's been getting worse, worse, worse. We wonder sometimes how much more worse can it get. I believe it's going to get a whole lot worse. I mean, it's snowballing now. The reason for writing the various scriptures is, like in John, like in Peter, like here in First Timothy, these apostles, they were writing and saying the same thing over and over. The Bible says, not the Bible doesn't say it, but repetition aids learning. And it bothers me. It kind of disgusts me when folks say, "Oh, I know what it says. I know what it says." I said, "Do you know what the Bible? I know what it says. I've read my Bible through twice. I know what it says." Well, I won't call them a lie to their face, but under my breath, I said, "But boy, you're telling a lie, boy. You don't know it. I've been reading my Bible a long time, and I still come up on stuff that I don't know and didn't know. I'm still learning." And I think they call that sanctification, being sanctified, set apart, growing. And we'll never really reach full sanctification until we see the Lord face to face. The reason for writing it like in various scriptures is to help some who believe the first verses is speaking. They're talking about verse 1 over here now that we did in this chapter 4. A lot of folks, verses is speaking of evil spirits or demons, or as the King James calls them, devils. 1 John 4, 1 through 3 states it very clearly that this is speaking of the spirit of man. The spirit of man. The spirit of man, or evil spirits, are always with a small s. It's not with a capital S. Like over in, I believe it's First John, not First John, but John chapter 16, verse 13, it says, "Howbeit, when He, the Spirit of truth, is come, He will guide you into all truth." And it says, "Howbeit, when He, the Spirit," that Spirit is capital S. It's the whole, and it says the Spirit of truth. And we know what that is. Jesus said in John chapter 14, verse 6, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me." And verse 1, "Believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world." 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 1 speaks of false prophets also. "But there were false prophets also among the people." See, there's Timothy. Paul was talking to Timothy, then John was talking to he was speaking of the same thing, the false apostles, and then Peter, and Peter was before John, and chronologically the way it is written in the book, in our Bible, 1st and 2nd Peter come before 1st and 2nd John. "But there were false prophets among the people, as there shall be false teachers among you, who privately shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destructions." Verse 2 and 3. Let's look at that. Verse 2 and 3. I think I got that wrote down here. I got it wrote down here. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. "And many shall follow their pernicious," that's pernicious means causing great harm or loss, "shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of." Verse 3, "And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you." That word feigned means untrue, lies. "With feigned words make merchandise of you." And I've got to think about, what does that merchandise mean? What does that mean? And I got to looking it up and doing some study on it. And to traffic, we hear a lot on the TV, the news about human trafficking. Or make a trade off. To make a trade off. I've got a trade. I'm in the pipe trade, and I got some other things I can do. Each one of us have a trade. And that's what he's talking about. You make a trade of it. That's my job. That's my main job. And like Dr. Manley said, told many times, he said, the ministry is not a job, it's a life. It's a life. It's not a job, it's a life. But I know also that we have to pay for our livings for our families. To take advantage of. Make merchandise. When I read that, to take advantage of, that's a definition of what I'm talking about. Years ago, when you used to pull up to a gas station and a gas attendant would come out and he'd pump your gas and clean your windshield, and that's when they had to, you put the nozzle in there and you turn it on, it'd be putting the gas in, he'd be cleaning your windshield. You wouldn't have to tell him to do it. Now, sometimes you would check your oil, get on the hood, check your oil. But right up on that back glass, right where by that gas, where you put that gas in, it's a big old sign that says clergy. And there's been a lot of guys that own stations there in Chapin. I won't say a lot of them. There was 4 service stations there in Chapin when I was growing up. There's all right out there on the main drag there. And I'd seen owner of the station fill up the preacher's car, and you got that clergy sticker on there. He gets caught for speeding. The man pull up behind him. He's the clergy. If he didn't have that clergy sign on there, his collar on backwards, they'd probably fine him. Anyway, 1 John chapter 2. Let me get back on to where I was at here. My stuff here. 1 John chapter 4, verse 2. It says, "Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God." And verse 3 of that chapter 4 for John says, "And every spirit that confesses not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God, and this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is in the world." The apostle speaks of the fact that they had already been warned of the false prophets. The apostle Paul speaks of this in Acts 20, chapter 20, verse 29 and 30, calling them grievous wolves. Also, these that are spoken of has the same attitude of the Antichrist. This does not mean they are indwelt by the Antichrist, but have the same mentality of the Antichrist. Therefore, as it is stated in 1 Timothy 4:1, these grievous wolves are seducing spirits, teach the doctrines of devil. In verse 2, I ain't going to have time. I won't go into that. Stalkers, speaking lies, in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. I won't go into that because I got this time. If I need to get out and let us go. So anyway, we'll take up for that, Lord willing, and if the Lord don't come back, which I'd love for him to come back before then, but next week this time will be, what would that be, the 3rd, won't it? Father, thank you for your word. Father, help us to rightly divide. Help us, Lord, to hide it in our heart. That's what it says over in Psalm 119, verses 9 through 11. It says, "Wherewithal shall a young man cleanse his ways, by taking heed thereto according to thy word. With my whole heart have I sought thee. O let me not wander from thy commandments. Thy word have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee." And I know for a fact that there's been times in my life that if I hadn't known a certain scripture when I was fixing to thinking about doing something, and the Holy Spirit headed me off, and I thank the Lord for that. So with that, dismissed. Lord, give us a safe trip home, and bring us back Sunday, if the Lord's will. And we won't see Brother Don no more until he gets back, or unless we see him in the rapture after we get up there. That'd be the best thing to do, see him when we get up there. So with that, we'll close and we'll go to our homes.